it's Ali and Theo, and we're back with another episode of the Undecided Gen Z.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything going on in our world, your world, and the world around us, and also talk to other interesting, cool Gen Zs doing fun things. But not today.
No, not today. We are that podcast, though. We are that podcast. I'm just trying to condition myself not to say yes. Did you notice?
Like, what else can I say?
I was like, how can I fit in not to say yes? But no, I did it. Kind of.
Maybe we should stick to the yes. It's a little less awkward.
Okay.
No, we can work on it.
Okay, we'll work around it.
But no, today we are just, it's us two. We're sitting down and we're actually doing a bit of a theme to this episode.
We're getting a bit juicy, a bit deep. I'm exposing myself yet again.
Had people asking us for this for a long time.
And we've avoided it.
And
we pretended we didn't see it.
We're kind of more reserved on this.
Yeah.
Partly because
Partly because
neither of us had much experience to talk out of.
And because, like, do you remember, that was probably a year ago now or
What?
so. Not even, probably 2 years now. Back when we did that whole thing where I was like, we can't talk about this. And, like, you were like, what is it? What? And I drove the car. If anybody remembers that. And I drove his car. I got stuck. This random man got in the car. Because I was like, should I bring up that we talk about orgasms? I mean, not orgasms. Female orgasms? Masturbation. I don't know what it was.
Something like that.
Something like that.
She didn't want to tell me.
I did not want to tell you.
Here we are today. We're going to be talking about sex, virginity, all that good stuff. So we've got a bunch of questions to talk about amongst each other. We've got a bunch of stuff that you guys have sent in, a mix of dilemmas, secrets, just admissions, like topics. We're going to try and get through as much as possible, all about sex.
I'm like ready. Like, I'm very much more open about this now.
Yep.
But I also feel scared. I feel scared because this is going out to lots of people. And it's going out on there, like, to stay forever. Like, unless we delete the episode.
Yeah.
But, like, people will still listen to it. And I'm nervy. I'm very nervy. But it's okay.
Well, I guess that's one of the parts of sex. It's like, people do feel that way.
Well, yeah, it's so taboo, isn't it?
When it's like, it's a very big part of
life. Literally is life.
As young people kind of discover it and work it out. And very prevalent for Gen Zs. So
hugely prevalent.
It's not like we can ignore that it's a thing.
Yes. And do we want to? That is the question. Do we want to ignore that it's a thing? Well, you wouldn't know, would you? No. But as usual, we should probably start this episode
with
off...
Oh
my god. No, let's just
review
cut.
of the week.
No, I love how like you're trying to do this with every
but imagine
segment.
if that was both of us going
it would be awkward. People would be listening in their ears and being like,
no, they're joining into it from home. They're like
they'd be like, I want this to be over.
Review of the week. So guys, today we had a really nice review. It comes from Anika Rose, and she said, my comfort podcast. I'm going to be honest, out of all the podcasts I listen to, this one is my favorite. The content you guys talk about each episode is so relevant and relatable. It keeps me entertained, but also allows me to question my own stance on tough subjects and world problems. I started watching Theo on YouTube when he started, and I'm so glad I got introduced to Ali more too. You guys are so hilarious, and me being from America, I love hearing what you guys think about what's going on over here. LeMayo, skull emoji. Thank you for bringing us this amazing podcast, and I hope you guys know how much your listeners appreciate. That is literally...
That's really cute.
So nice. Thank you, Anika.
That's so cute. She touched on everything there. She gave us intellectual. She gave us comfort.
She complimented every aspect of us. She gets funny, intellectual.
Ready to boost my ego. Like, I'm going into this episode hyped. Now I can talk about anything.
That's why we do this. But she mentioned a funny point about being from America and hearing stuff. Because last week when we talked to Nina, by the way, thank you for the love on that episode. We're so glad you guys enjoyed that. But after we'd finished, she was talking to us about how she listened to an episode and found it funny how, like,
I think it was the last episode.
We were talking about, like, drinking and stuff.
Going to the bar and club and everything. She's like, I just feel, like, so far removed because obviously they can't do that. Or they're not supposed to. But, like, and we were like, we sat back and thought about it. We're like, all these people from overseas, like, who don't have the same rules and stuff like us, what do they think about that?
It'd be so weird for them listening to this and be like,
because we're like, we're getting drunk.
Yeah,
she's so drunk she peed herself in a club.
Like, no other Gen Zs in other countries are like, or can relate.
Can't wait for
I did
that.
that too.
No, it's funny. But yeah, it made us second guess. Or not second guess. More like reflect.
Oh.
Reflect, yeah.
Shout out to our international listeners.
Yes, we love you. Stick around. We hope you can relate on some things though. But sex.
Oh.
I think we've got to start from the start, from the top.
Let's start from the very beginning.
I don't know what that is.
Very good place to start.
Okay. There's a lot of
Sound of
singing.
music?
I do know that song. There's a lot of singing going on this episode. I don't know how I
don't know,
feel
maybe it's just
about
like
it.
to calm the nerves potentially. You know.
Are you a bit
sex.
nervy?
I'm actually not, but like, what do I have to be nervous about? No.
So, Theo, do you recall the first time you like figured out what sex was? I'm hitting you with the first one, but it's not too hard. This isn't a hard compared to what we've got. This is easy.
Yeah, no, that's actually interesting. Like discussing kind of your first experiences or knowledge of sex. I have zero memories of sex as a young person.
Really?
Or being like introduced to it. Like I would never had any concept of my parents having sex.
Ooh, like how young?
Never.
Oh my god.
Like, okay. So I'm like.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah. You caught your mum having sex, did you not?
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm exposing my mum. I did, but that's not even the first experience I've ever had. So I caught my mum. That was when I was 10. There was multiple knives. I heard it in the bedroom because she had a boyfriend at the time, and like I like went out to find her. Oh, sorry, Mum, I'm so sorry, but this is content. I went out to find her, and she was in the garage in the car.
Oh.
Yep. And my 10-year-old self was scarred.
Wait, how did you know it was happening?
Because okay, so obviously, like before that, I don't know, I was very young exposed to sex. Like, I don't know why or how I figured it out, but like, I think I was 7 when I watched porn or something.
Oh, really?
But not properly. Like, I was just 7 years old being like, what is this? Yeah. And I think I was with a friend or something and we were like, what is this? And we just kind of like looked it up or found something and we were like, what? And then we were like, this is so confusing. But like, I kind of knew what it was. I don't know. Very, very odd. Yeah.
My first time seeing something you just like triggered a memory was like, I remember I had this friend and her parents. Oh, no, I can't say too much. I'm like, wait, I'm about to people that like know anything. Anyway, so I had this friend and their parents owned a store.
Yeah. I don't know who this is. I can't even.
I don't want anyone listening to put 2 and 2 together if like you know us. Anyway.
I can't even put 2 and 2 together.
No, but she was, you wouldn't. But, and one day she like came to me and she was like, I found this, like, come look what I found. And I was like, what? And we like run out to the back and like hidden amongst some bushes are like a cutout from like a magazine.
Oh.
And it's like a woman with her legs completely like sprayed open.
That's so
and I was just like shocked. I was like,
that's so like 90s. Like mine was like a video.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Mine was like a
okay,
yeah.
Gen Z.
Like
no, I had the full like OG experience. It was
Yeah.
like on the magazine.
I've never
and
seen
it was
one in
way
real
too
life.
early, obviously, to have any enjoyment out of it. I was just like, what? I was like visibly
Being
like
shocked.
you know, and you're like your heart's like racing.
Yeah,
You're
you're like, I'm gonna get in
you
trouble.
just know it's like shocking.
Yeah. I've never actually seen like a magazine like that ever before. Is that making me a real
I
Gen Z?
haven't seen one since, no.
Yeah, but no, I was really young, like 6 or 7 before primary school, I'm pretty sure, or first year of primary school. And my mum brought it up the other day. She was like, when I was younger, apparently like she found on like the search or something like, what is sex or like something like that when I was like younger. She was like, I remember like seeing that. I was like, oh, I don't even remember, but that's so embarrassing.
I do like remember being with friends at different times searching some questionable stuff. Not like crazy, but it's questionable.
Yeah, a bit questionable.
And you wonder like,
yeah, and like
much
we
your
didn't.
parents
Yeah,
aware,
and we probably
probably a
didn't know
lot.
how to get rid of like search history or anything, or we probably just left it there. Like my mom probably saw quite a bit. Yeah. But yeah, I don't actually ever remember like fully having a moment where I was like, "That's sex."
Yeah.
But I remember being not quite young, but young, and my mum being like, "Oh, like Ali, just remember like." You should get just as much pleasure as a man. And I was young, so I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't really get it. I was kind of like...
She comes home from like a bad experience with a dude. She's like, Ali, just remember when you're older.
No, she really had one boyfriend when I was younger. Interesting, I know. She's
Okay,
like...
that's like a good thing to instate
I definitely
early,
think it is, though. Because, like, it's really important, and we'll probably get into that. But, yeah, she was very adamant. She's like, no, you need to... it's not all about the man. And I was kind of like too young to be like, oh, I don't really get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also other conversations where like mum was like, if you get pregnant, just know that I'll always like look after the baby if you need and I'll be there. She was very open about that. So like I could
How old are you at this point? You're still
No,
7?
I think I was like 14 or 15.
Okay.
So she was like, if anything like that ever happens, just know I'm always here for you, will support you. So it was very nice. Like a
communicative.
Yeah, environment, and like I feel like I could talk to her about that kind of stuff. Not that I ever really did.
Did she ever like openly have a conversation, like sit down and be like, Ali, this is what you're about to like start experiencing in terms of this is how it works, like people are gonna
never did anything like that.
Nor did I.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, do people do this?
Yeah, do people sit down?
Is the birds and bee conversation a legit
like
thing?
maybe before like social media, before
That's
internet, because I feel with internet now you just know, or there's so much information, but while before that like you wouldn't know anything unless you were told.
Well, one, you can just Google anything. Like the amount of times I would have Googled like the most basic stuff. And it's right there.
Of course.
And two, you also just can't really avoid, like you go into a Twitter and
there's
someone has retweeted.
Sex.
Someone having sex on your timeline.
Yeah. Or you're like trying to watch a illegal movie on Publica.
And
like and suddenly there's this like, come have sex.
Literally, I'm trying to watch Hamilton with my family the other day on one of these sites. And literally, all the pop-ups, it just keeps popping up with like girls fully naked. And I'm like, okay, everyone avert your eyes while I kick out of this. In the middle of the song.
Yeah, we love that. Yeah, you can't avoid it, and it's very like you just don't even want to. If you don't want to learn about it, you kind of have to. People don't learn about it as much as it should, but I feel like it's very easily accessed, and I know that's probably really bad because it's very I don't know. Obviously, the porn industry and all that. So we've talked a bit about that. It's just effed up, and like the portrayal of sex and what it should be like for men and women is completely different, and like it's very messed up. But I do think it like at least gives access to when people have those questions and they can't have them with their family, they can find somewhere else.
It's a bit of like a win-lose or win, like it's both sides of the coin, because I've seen some interesting stuff lately of people who were exposed to kind of like even like really graphic fan fiction
that's
like
me
when they were kind of 9 or 10, and the way that actually messed up with their mind or like led them to more grotesque.
Really?
What's grotesque? Is that the right word? Or just like hardcore like sexual desires, or like people grooming them, that kind of thing.
Well, like talking about that, I remember being young, like I was into One Direction like when I was 10, and I probably got into like fan fiction and all that. Not that I'm not anymore, but I used to be when I was probably like 11, and like you just be reading like a normal kind of story about like, oh my god, you're Harry's boyfriend, da 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 da, and suddenly there's just be this smut scene or this completely like vivid thing, which like when it says 18 plus, when you're like 12 or whatever, you're not going to be like, okay, I'll click out. You just keep reading.
No, and there is always that, especially like at that kind of preteen age, it's already started that thing in the back of your mind, which is kind of not turned on, but it gets like triggered, or this sense gets turned on by
like when you hit, it's like before puberty, like when you hit puberty, like you're horny, you're thinking about sex, it's what is it called, hormones. Like you're so intellectual.
You smart. You sure you didn't finish high school?
No, I'm pretty sure I graduated college. No, but like it definitely, for me anyway, like it didn't take me the other way, but it definitely romanticized or what I thought was going to happen a lot more than what I've experienced so far. Right. But yeah, like I remember being exposed to like smart and like very sexual, and of course like reading sexual scenes is just as like detrimental to watching porn at like 12 if you're reading them every night and stuff like that. I feel like it definitely impacts you in a way.
What was kind of your view on sex heading into high school? So we get to high school, it's kind of the time where it's becoming more of a thing. What was kind of your view?
What do you mean view?
Well, like I remember being there in like sleepovers or intense when we were like 13 and year 7, being like, when do you guys want to have like sex or whatever? And some people would be like,
well, I thought I was gonna have sex in high school. Spoiler. I didn't have sex until last year, so 2020. Oh god.
Really?
Yeah. So 2020 was when I first had sex. But I thought like I'd get a boyfriend in high school, I'd have sex in high school. It'd be like somebody I'd be dating and like they love me, or like something like that. Very romanticized, as I said. Like a very romanticized, like there'd be this connection. Ugh, it wasn't like that at all. But like, I did really go into it, like, be like, I'm gonna have sex when I'm a teenager, and like, I was a teenager. I was 19. Yeah, like, that did not happen. And I think like there was a lot of like, when you watch movies and all that type of stuff, there's a lot of pressure. Even though nobody's pressuring you, there's still pressure to be like, I'm not going to be a teenager, or I should have this experience to fit in, or like, and I expected that.
Or just kind of pressure on yourself, not just specifically the sex thing, but pressure like based on what you've built in your head as like the ideal teen life.
Oh yeah, and I
like,
also
I haven't, like, I'm getting, my teen years are ending and I haven't like lived up to what I thought it was going to be.
I also think it's like a big validation thing. Like if somebody wants sex, not having sex as such, but if somebody wants to have sex with you, or you have that opportunity, like I feel like especially in high school, it's a big like, yeah, I've had sex. Somebody wanted to have sex with me. You know what I mean?
But do you think like, that's an actual sense of validation?
No, but it's like no, I don't think it's real. But I think a lot of people seek it to like be like
for that purpose.
Yeah, not totally for that purpose, but for it to be like, oh yeah, like I was wanted enough, or like.
Did you feel, because obviously you were 19, did you ever feel like kind of shamed for it in high school, or did you feel like you were left behind, or was there any kind of...
What did you?
Well, so I'll get into it more, but I'm like in a bit of a different situation. So if you haven't heard, if
you haven't heard.
No, so like I'm waiting till marriage. I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
And
does it say weird saying that?
It is weird. I'm like, people probably listening like, wow. Because even some of the questions that came in were like, when did you guys lose it? I'm like, jeepers guys, I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun to say. Hey guys. Virgin. No, so like for me, I didn't really feel shame because I think it was almost easier. Because
you have a reason?
I had a reason.
Yeah.
I was just like, and people were pretty accepting of it. Like, especially the friends I had, no one really were hating on me.
If they did, would they be your friends?
No, but like so many high school friendships are actually like that.
True.
So I just didn't feel any shame because I was like, this is what I'm doing. And sometimes people wouldn't understand it, or would like try and have conversations, or kind of be like, think it was dumb, but that was the extent.
Yeah, interesting. No, I never felt like outcasted or like pressured from it. Just, I remember like a friend of mine and I were always like, most of our conversations were like, we need to lose our virginities. Like, when are we going to do this? Like, we're like, this is the year. This is going to happen. And you were in these conversations too. And like, obviously it never happened. But like, we were just so focused on it. Like, it came to the point where like, that was a lot of our friendship, and it was very like toxic. Like, it shouldn't have been on the forefront of our mind that much.
What was the main reason for it being so up front and being such a goal?
I think it was like we want to get it over and done with, or like we want to find the right person, or we didn't want to be in like mid-20s like being virgins, but for no reason, you know what I mean? I think there was a lot of that. I think it was a lot of pressure, like just like. And, like, not that anybody else was giving it to, it was just society, really. But very interesting, like, to look back on that now. But, like, so I probably was desperate to lose it. And, like, even, like, looking back on when I lost it, and who I lost it to, it was very much like, I just want to get this over and done with. It wasn't like I guess it would be
kind of thing which is just looming over the fact, like, I'm a virgin, and just be like, I just want that kind of title or label just gone so I can...
Well, it was that, and it was like, I want to know what it's like. And it was also like...
Also probably like, you want to do it. Like,
well, there was like, sex. Well, there kind of was. It was like, I want to know what it's like. I want to get it over and done with. Also, I want to be prepared and like know what it's like for somebody I actually like.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? For like somebody I actually like.
So if you were to get into a legit relationship when you were 20 and you're kind of old, the dude wouldn't be like... Oh.
Yeah, but like there would be no like I would kind of know a bit what I was doing.
Sure.
So yeah.
Should we get to it? The moment everyone's been waiting for, our virginity losing stories.
Or one. One virginity losing story. No, mine was obviously last year. It feels weird. It feels like it was this year, does it? No, it feels like last year. Yeah. Last year, at the start of last year, it was kind of weird because like I met this guy just off of Tinder.
Yep.
I knew that
for the purpose of... Was it for this purpose?
It wasn't for this purpose. I knew that I wanted to lose it. Like I probably wanted to ideally lose it to somebody I actually liked in a relationship. But I kind of knew like at that point that like
It wasn't
there
going to be that easy.
well,
Who
yeah.
knew when it was going to come?
Yeah, who knew when it was going to come, like, whatever. And, like, if the vibe fit, the vibe fit. I was kind of like, whatever happens.
Yeah.
And, like, I just met this guy the night before. And really weird. I should have known this was a red flag, to be honest.
Oh, what?
But, like, he invited me over and he's like, I'll, like, we'll cook and, like, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Invited me over and he was like, is it cool if my mom's there? And I was like,
well, had you planned? Were you like, we're gonna have sex?
No. It was like just like meeting up, and he was like, come to my house, and I just assumed that he like lived like by himself because I don't know, like I lived by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like, and then I got too far in. So when he was like, oh, my mom's here, is that okay? I was kind of like, I felt bad saying no. Do you know what I mean? So
no,
I was just like, I don't want to just be like, no. Like, so I went over, met his mom. It was a bit awkward, but like, it was still a vibe. Like, we got to know each other. We like got along. It was fine.
Yep.
And then the next night, he like invited me over again. Said his mum wasn't going to be there. And then like, I don't know how we came to the conclusion, but we were going to drink some alcohol. So I'd have to stay because I can't drive home drunk, obviously.
Right, yeah.
I'm responsible. But then it came to the conclusion that I was going to stay. I don't know if I've like blocked it out of my mind or I was like drunk or like I wasn't too drunk, but like had some drinks. So I didn't really know what happened, but no, I do know what happened. But like we go into his bedroom, it's chill. Like he's giving me a shirt to wear to bed.
And the assumption was always,
well,
was it given that you would stay in his bed?
I don't know. He kind of like, sorry, I'm just like stumbling over my words here. He kind of like, maybe, I think he offered to like sleep somewhere else and I was like, nah, it's fine. But then like he gives me a shirt and then he gets this call. And you know this because I've told you about this. He gets this call on the phone and he's like, oh, I have to answer this. And he's gone outside, but I can still hear him.
Yep.
And it's his ex-girlfriend. And she's like drunk and in an Uber or high or on drugs something. And he's like trying to talk to this. She's like she's given the phone to the Uber and he's trying to talk to the Uber driver being like, you've got to get her home safe. Like being really like protective and weird. And I'm like being really awkward because I've just...
I mean, she is your ex.
Yeah, exactly. And like the fact that I'm like in his bedroom, like in his shirt, like just standing there, I was like, what do I do? Like, I was like, what do I do in this situation? It was just very awkward. And then he comes back in and like that night he'd already talked about his ex like an hour, by the way, which should have just been like, Ali, book an Uber, get out there. Like I should have done it, but I didn't. And then we like just... there was no assumption that we were going to have sex, but we like fooled around before, did other stuff. And then I think I was the one that was like, let's have sex.
Really?
I was like, let's just do it. I was like, yeah.
Was your mind like at that point, you're like, let's do it? Does your mind start like going racing? Like, this is the moment?
No, well, not this is the moment, but I was just stressed. I was like, is it going to hurt? What's going to happen?
True.
And then also like, I didn't even think about it until I got home the next day or afterwards. He didn't use a condom, which is actually not what you're supposed to do. Like, he obviously... No, but I mean as in, like, he was supposed to communicate that. Like, and he knew I was a virgin and he should have... Like, there was no communication about the condom. And I didn't bring it up either, but I don't know. There was, there was no, like...
I still find that so weird.
So, yes. Wasn't, like, a great experience. Did not finish. Wouldn't like I would like it was very odd. I don't know. And then like it happened a few more times that night. Like it, but okay. TMI.
Happened a few more times.
Yeah, as in like the next morning or that night and the next morning. I think I don't quite remember. But TMI for everybody who doesn't hear, it doesn't hurt that much. But blood. Nobody talks about that. There was no blood. Like everybody.
Oh, there wasn't.
No, there was. But like when you go to the bathroom, then there's blood. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like, I don't know.
It just all comes out at once.
No, there's not like a lot. It's just like, I don't know. It's like you've cut yourself. And there's just like stops for a bit and then like, does that, like, is that like...
Sure.
You know when you cut yourself and you like wipe it away and it kind of stops for a bit and then it comes back. Yeah. It was kind of like that and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I got on any sheets. It was very stressful.
So it's like after you'd done it, you were like lying there and then you're like, ooh, the blood's coming. And
no. I just went to the toilet to pee and then there was like blood and I was like, what do I do? Anyway,
I also only recently found out that you had to pee after having sex.
Really? Yeah. UTIs.
Wait, but if someone's young out there, guys, you have to pee after having sex.
Yes, pee after having sex. Also, insist on a condom unless you're trying to have a baby and unless you know that they're clean. I have a lot of trouble with that. I've only gotten better at that the last time I think I've had sex, and I've had sex a little bit.
Okay.
No, I'm just trying to say, like, I
Yeah,
found it
yeah.
a very anxious thing. Like, I'm always scared to, like, say, oh, do you have a condom? Because I'm scared I'm going to get a negative reaction, or, like, they're going to be like, no, and, like, be angry at me. I don't know why it makes me so stressed, but unless they bring it up, I won't. But, like, now I've been better at it. But also, like, they should be bringing it up too. Like, do they not care about getting you pregnant? Do they
And
not
so
care about...
I guess maybe they're like, well, if she doesn't bring it up, she clearly doesn't care. And that's just a
But
test, which is so dumb.
And, like, sometimes I'm so anxious. Anyway, I've brought it up recently. Well, not recently. Lol. But bit of a dry spell. But no, it's fine. I just feel like it's very... With sex, it's a very communication thing.
Yeah, right.
And, like, if there's no communication, it's probably not good at all.
How did you know what to do, or the first time especially? Were you just kind of lying there and let him take control? Or were you like, how do I know what position kind of to go into? Or does he just like do this and you're like, okay, this is easy.
I just lied there. I had no idea what to do.
Lay there, close your eyes and
Not
spread
close
your
my
legs.
No, for a while, like when I, like even into like some of the last times, I just close my eyes because like I don't know where to look. It's so, okay, not all the time, but like for some of the time. But no, I did not like move. I just kind of lied there until like he was like, let's switch it up or let's do this. Until he suggested, I was like, because he knew.
Right.
Then I had no idea, and I think that's okay. I think it's obviously your first time, you're not going to know what to do, and I think going into that, you shouldn't have expectations that you should know what to do.
What's the moment like as soon as it's finished, and then you just kind of are you just lying there awkwardly? Are you like, that was nice? Is he like, thanks?
I think we talked a bit about, like, I stayed there the night.
Yeah.
But very awkward like that. Yeah, especially if you're not like dating them or like connected to them. It's that whole thing with like, should I go? What am I gonna do? Like, no, but that whole like, are we gonna go for another round? Especially because I don't know if I should say this.
Why not?
It's like content. I think a lot of girls actually have an issue with it, but I've never finished myself. Right. So it's always the guys trying to... some guys are like, I'm going to be the one, and like try multiple times, and I'm like, stop. Like, really? You are hurting me. Yes. It's so awkward. But
that's so interesting. So you have never finished. Do you get much enjoyment out of having sex then?
Sometimes. Yeah. It's hard to explain it, but like you get to that point where it's like, oh my God, it feels so good. And then like nothing happens. Guys are really bad at that, by the way. They'll be like, oh, that's really good. And then they'll just suddenly switch it up. You're like, why did you switch that up? But no, like, yeah, it's very like, it feels good. And like, there's been lots of situations where like I've talked to you and like other people about this, but like I've felt like I've had to have sex with people. Yep. And that's obviously a very wrong thing, and I shouldn't have felt that way, but like I've felt like I've had to do it because of that, so then I don't get that much enjoyment out of it. But if I've wanted to and I like the person and I'm attracted to them and stuff like that, then I get enjoyment out of it because it still feels good, just you don't finish, like you don't get to the point, you know what I mean?
So after that first time where you're like, I've done it, you know, I've spent the last 10 years of my teenagehood like obsessing over this, and you're like, you wake up the next day like it's done. What were kind of emotions after losing it losing it?
I was like, I'm sore. And then I was kind of like, oh, cool.
Did you feel satisfied?
No, I was kind of like shocked. I was kind of like, oh, I finally done it. I was like, a big thing. And then I was kind of like, I don't really care. Like, it wasn't like it was an amazing experience too. Like, I feel like I've had so many better sexual experiences that I've walked away being like, oh, you know, rather than that first time where I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
And then were you glad that you'd got it out of the way?
No. I don't regret it. I definitely don't regret it. But I also think that like I didn't value myself. Ooh, a bit deep. But I didn't value myself or my like self-worth and stuff like that as much as I should have back then. So I really just did it because whatever. And I felt like not that I had to in that situation, but like, yeah, like I didn't fully want to. I felt like society had pressured me into it. It wasn't like I'd been seeing this guy, I really, really liked him, and I was like, I want to jump on him and like have sex with him. Yeah, it wasn't like I was really, really attracted to him to the point where I was like, I want to have sex with you, which what it should be. Yeah. Like most of the time when you have sex with people, you should be really attracted to them and want to have sex with them. And it wasn't. So I kind of regret it in that way. But no, I think like it all builds into one, I guess. It brought me to here, like where I am at now. Like maybe if I didn't have that experience, like I wouldn't have had other good experiences because I wouldn't have had like sex. Very interesting though. I guess on the stance of like why you're not.
Yeah.
Is obviously you're religious, so that's a reason. But I feel like you have underlying reasons, even though they connect to religion. I feel like
Well, so guys, I'm Christian, which is basically why it is, just because it's like recommended that you know, sex is for marriage, blah 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 blah. But I think a few years ago or something, I was like, you know, if I'm actually going to do this, because it's like, well, it's kind of easy, but it is a pretty big like.
It's a big
thing.
commitment, yeah.
I was like, I do want kind of more reasons. Like, I need to like feel more convinced in myself as to why it's like beneficial. Like, even from a Christian perspective, why is it actually beneficial to not? So I was like, so I did like some looking and like thinking about it, and now I'm like, I do. So if I wasn't a Christian, let's be real, I would be having sex and whatnot. But even without the Christian aspect, I still believe it's like kind of healthy from the perspective that I feel like sex is like a very strong thing between a partnership.
Yeah.
And the more times that you kind of have sex with people before like your partner, the less important it is.
Can I touch on that for a second? Can I cut in? I like agree, but I also don't like disagree, because like even though I've had sex, I'm not going to say how many times, but even though I've had sex multiple times, like I can really feel the difference with different people, like when I feel more connected to them or when I have more emotions involved. Yep. So I do think it's like for me, anyway, I'm not talking on other people or you or anything, but I feel like for me it was like if I feel more connection or there's more trust or communication and like a more, you know, stronger feeling, there is just a better feeling for sex, and then it's makes it worth it. So I don't think it like devalues sex.
No, that makes sense.
But like I get what you mean. Whilst like it just becomes a thing. Like it's just sex. We're gonna have sex here. We're gonna have sex there, which I've really thought about more too. Like just waiting and like.
Well, and it just kind of comes down to, I guess, what you want out of life and a partner and whatnot. Because, like, for me, I'm like, I definitely feel like I want, like, a long-term partner. I want, like, someone which I'm with forever and that I'm fully committed to, blah, 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 blah. And so for me, I kind of feel like if I was to, like, wait and only have sex with her, like, that's going to be so much more important for our relationship and, like, strong for our relationship. It's like, that's the only thing we share. Well, not the only thing, but, like, a major thing that we share just between us.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, if you're someone that's like, I don't know if I'll ever want to get married. I don't know if I want one person. Yeah. Or I just want to like do whatever. Then it might make sense to be kind of whatever about
like it. For like me, and I know like other people, I definitely think not prioritizing who you want to, but like I definitely went through a period of time where I was just kind of like, sex here, I'll give you sex here. That sounds so bad. But like I did go through that period, but I was like, yeah, I'll give you my like, I'll have sex with you. I'll have sex with you. And like, I didn't really put thought behind it. And I was just kind of like, well, which sounds really bad, this therapy session, but I was using it as a kind of coping mechanism to deal with other things and like not be alone with my own thoughts and like have like, you know, somebody want me. And there was all this type of stuff tied to it that we've worked through. I think we've worked through because I'm not doing it anymore. But like, compared to like when like you make a decision, you know, you're like, actually no, I really like you, I feel this way.
Yeah, that's true. Something empowering about like, no, in this moment I'm deciding like I do want to do this for myself, rather than something that you've found yourself into. Yeah,
that you're just like, oh wait, how did I get here? Looks like I'm doing it. And I definitely think it makes a difference being more
conscious.
Yes, conscious. A conscious choice. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Another thing, and guys, remember, like, this is just from my opinion of someone who actually has not had sex and stuff. So I'm not saying this is fact or anything. Yeah. I feel like it's really could be really healthy for a relationship also, because it would mean your relationship is only based on completely like personal, emotional stuff. Like, I think in lots of relationships, lust could kind of get in the way, or like sex, or you're like, am I in love or am I here because they're really attractive and I get like we've got good sex chemistry out of this. You know what I mean? I feel like that could kind of muddle it sometimes. But if you're not having sex with your partner, it's like your only relationship you have is between two people that like genuinely really like each other. So I feel like your connection would be forced to rely on other stuff rather than just that sexual chemistry, which can it can like muddle your thoughts and stuff.
No, like I get that, and I do agree, of course, in some points. But I also think that like sex is such an important part, and I've talked to you about this. Such an important part of a relationship because, like, I think there's like what type of sex drive do you have? Because people have different sex drives, which nobody talks about. Like some people want to have sex every single day, multiple times a day. Some people don't want it once times a week or like ever. So I think that's really important. Also, your sexual chemistry, like, and I know we've talked about this, how you think like people can work through stuff, and like obviously people can. But
wait, what do you mean?
Not sexual chemistry. I mean like sexual, like how well they, like not how well they are, but like how you work together, like in bed and stuff like that. And we've talked about this.
See, I don't. That's one point I so am anti. The idea that like, because people always say to me that point, they're like, how will you know like if you can have sexual chemistry or anything? Like, how will you know if it works well? It's like, from someone who's never had sex, tell me if I'm completely wrong. I feel like if you're decided to commit to someone, you're like, that's something you can learn. Through. Like if the first time's like, not great, whatever.
I don't think it's even about the first time. I just know with a lot of guys, like, the communication is the aspect, and although that's not like sexual chemistry, I feel like that's like a part of it, because like the communication, how well, like if they know what you like, if they're willing to learn what you like it's all about that type of thing. Like it's not just about.
But do you think you could understand that of a person without having sex? Like if you're spending every day, don't you think you would have a kind of a good sense
you'd hope, but there'd also be a part of me, like, I guess that's the ideal though, is you get a partner who like, if they can communicate, and like that's great. But I also feel like there's some things people aren't going to show straight away until they're in that situation, you know what I mean? Because it is a completely different situation, sex. Like it's nothing that you like ever really do.
I guess I'm just trying to think of like what could be something which would be so drastic that it's like, yikes, why do we get married? Like I feel like if you're married to them, you've made such a big commitment that you love them. It's like if something weird was to come up in having sex.
I don't know. I just think like, I don't know. But that's just like my thoughts. Yeah, I think the like chemistry with people really does change, and I can tell. And I don't know if that depends on like how much you like people or like how much the connection there is. But there's definitely different chemistry with different people, even on the same level if you like them. I don't know. There's just been a lot of situations where I'm like, oh, maybe I really like this guy, or like I like this guy, and then we've had sex and I've been like, no.
Really?
Yeah, I've been like, no, I don't.
And before that, you were like,
before that, I was
want to have sex with him. I feel like we're really good. Like I'm really into him.
Yeah, there'd be like a point where I'm like, oh, I really like him, like da 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 da, and then we've had sex, and afterwards I've been like, there was nothing there.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
that is weird, because like, surely but before, like you liked him, but were you like sexually attracted? Did you think you were sexually attracted to him?
I thought I was, and there was other situations where I was like, oh, but then we had sex, and I was kind of like, oh. But yeah, I don't know. It really depends for me on the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's been some situations where like it's been questionable. Just like even like the condom thing is bad enough, but some of the situations like that I've had with guys, I've been like, what is going on?
Really? Like what?
Just like, I don't know, like choking somebody without asking if they're into it. That's really weird. Like it's very uncomfortable, and like being like a little like person, not little person like me, but being like kind of scared to like speak up in a people pleaser. I just kind of let them do it, which is not good.
Well, let's talk about consent, not in like obviously you should always consent before like having sex with someone, but I think it's an interesting idea because we're living in a time where like consent is becoming such a big thing for like even more smaller things. Yeah. To the point where people like, some people advocate for any kind of change while you're having sex is like, just continually ask them questions about like what you're doing, like is this okay, is this okay, is this okay, and then some people are like, but it just kills the mood. What do you think is like the good balance, or like for your preference kind of in terms of how much people should ask, like is this okay?
I think like it's a really big balance between like reading somebody's body language, and if they're like going along with it and enjoying it, like that's just something you should be doing the whole time. Like if you're not reading their body language, just like seeing, oh, do they like this?
Some people are just so bad at reading stuff in general.
Then I'm like so like odd. Like if you notice somebody's gone a bit rigid, or like is like not making the same sounds anymore, or is kind of just not like, I don't know, you can pick up. And I think I give those signs off, and maybe that's not enough, but I do think you need like choking and like smacking and like stuff like spanking, whatever. I think that's kind of a thing where like, hey, would you be down for this? It doesn't need to be like, really? Do you give my consent?
If you were in full
In the
throttle,
moment.
and he's like, "Hey, can I spank you?"
That would be better than just doing
Interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Because like you just do it and that's just like one could hurt. Like you don't know if I like that. You don't know if like I've had a negative experience with that. Like I think like that's a big thing, spanking. Like, and of course it's been very like fetishized and very like a big thing, of course, on from porn and everything. And that's why guys like it so much. But do they even think like how that does it? Like for me, there's nothing there. Like no, maybe that's, I haven't had a good experience with it, but like I feel like that's physical. That's something that should be,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like choking, spanking, things like that. That's very physical. I don't even know how to even like maybe give a slight tap, and maybe if they like that, be like, oh, do you like that? Do you like that, or do you like would you mind if I went harder? I don't know. Like I just think like it's better to ask, and it doesn't have to be like, do you give me consent? Hey, it's just gonna be like, hey, if I did this, would you like this?
I guess it's like I'm trying to picture in that situation. I guess it's just like so hard without killing the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's an excuse, but it is like, how do you go about saying something like that if you're in
maybe
it and you're
just be like,
hey, can I spank you? And then
maybe
you're
just
like,
maybe just be like, oh, I really want to spank you right now, and then they can respond with,
okay, we'll do it.
yeah, okay, we'll do it. Or like, hey, how about we do something else? Or like, hey, not my thing. Like I've said it before. I've been like, somebody asked me like rim job or something like that. Do you do rim jobs? And I was like, not my thing. I was like, not my thing.
Wait, how does that? I feel like you have to be a bit prepared for that.
Yeah. I don't think he was prepared.
Wait, he wanted one.
Oh no, yeah, no.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. Either way, I was like, no, I'm not ready for this right now.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a mutual thing.
Is that what's like the craziest request you've had?
Probably that, or there's just a lot of guys wanting to, yeah.
Did we already mention how
everybody's just like, oh, I want to eat your ass, and I'm like, no. I'm like, no, no. Yeah. So many guys are like,
why are you not down for that?
Because it's just not my thing. I've never experienced it. I never really want to. It makes me anxious. No, thank you. And like, I don't care if anybody else is into that. Good on you. But like for me personally, maybe if I found a partner that he really wanted to, and like, with. Yeah, but like on a one night stand, like a dating scenario, I'm okay. I'm okay with just the one hole. Like that's it.
For some reason I feel like we might have mentioned this. I'm not sure what context, but one of our friends, he was with a girl who like requested to knife play.
Oh yes.
Did we mention that already?
We have not. No, I don't think we mentioned this.
And she like pulled out a knife and was like, "Can you cut me?" I don't know. And she would like ask if she could cut him, but mostly she wanted to be cutted.
Yes.
Which is.
I just could never imagine asking somebody that, especially like a one night stand. Like nobody, not like it. Like I would, if I had that kind of kink, I would wait till I was like in a committed relationship or looking at being in a committed relationship.
Or like be straight up on your Tinder bio and be like looking for someone who will cut me.
Yeah, it's just like not even like a usual kink.
That's like the dude that from last week that we haven't had any more contact with, unfortunately, guys. No updates. But the guy that wants you to be a slave. It's like, where do these crazy? They have to come from somewhere.
Yeah. My thing is just like the crazy requests are just, you have the confidence. Like honestly, claps for confidence there. Like I could never. Even if I had like a...
Give me some of that boldness.
Yeah, even if I had like that kink, I could never be like, hi, could you please cut me? Sorry, I shouldn't be like that, but I would never.
Yeah, I want to actually ask. She's like handed him the knife. It's like, hey, yo, could you just give me a little slit to my...
Like, I'm trying to think if I have any kinks. Not that I've ever expressed them on the podcast, because that would just be weird. But I don't think I do. I don't think I do have any. And, like, if I did, they would be, like, very normal. Not normal. Okay, I shouldn't say that. They would be very basic ones, I think. I'm just thinking about the knife play. It's crazy. It's not crazy. It's wild.
With a separate topic, but I've been seeing some stuff like kink shaming is a thing where like you don't kink shame other people's kinks, but now I'm seeing like an anti-kink shaming movement. It's like, no, some kinks we need to like set guidelines where some
like
kinks
even like rape and stuff, like the rape kinks and stuff like that.
What do you feel about like schoolgirl, like teacher kinks?
I've never liked that. That makes me feel super uncomfortable. Like, why are we normalizing that? Like, and you'd be I can just imagine these like 40-year-old men loving that.
Well, that has to come from somewhere too.
Yeah. nah, not a vibe, not here. Like, you would never catch me in a school group. Oh, maybe you would. I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to like just to make sure I don't like get cancelled for lying. But no, I think like some things like that are a bit like iffy. I don't know, like if you really think about it. Yeah,
for sure.
Not a vibe.
Speaking of uncomfortable, this is a bit off topic, but speaking of like uncomfortable experiences, this just came into my mind while I was thinking about it. I like had an experience where I like could have almost had sex.
Yeah.
So, and it was very, very awkward because I was at the point where I was kind of like too uncomfortable to like talk about it or explain the situation.
Oh. To the person.
No, so funny if anyone listens to this that's involved, but I was in Italy on exchange at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like 16.
Yeah.
And there was this girl who was also an exchange student, and we had like a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
But not much of a thing, just like we'd kissed a couple of times, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she had like expressed quite a bit of interest at different times.
Ooh, okay. No, but it's also not ooh because like you obviously waiting to marriage. Anyway.
And I was just like chilled, you just kind of get out of different situations somehow.
Yeah.
But at one point we end up in our exchange's friend hotel room.
Oh,
and so we're in the hotel room
Rest
and there's like
disaster.
a couple of beds there and maybe 8 people in the hotel room because we're like getting ready to go out or something.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of us sitting around and we're kind of on one of the beds, just like lying there. Everyone's like spread across the beds and chairs and whatnot. And a couple of people leave. They have to like go to the room and she's just kind of getting a bit closer to me and like kind of like putting her hand against my back almost.
Yeah.
A couple of people kind of notice this and give us, kind of look like smirky.
Yeah. The classic. The classic.
If this girl somehow listens to this, I'm sorry. But like giving the signal and I'm just kind of like laughing like haha.
You're like haha, laughing it off.
And then someone makes a joke like, "Oh, should we leave, guys?" And I'm like, "No, you're fine." So I stick around for a little bit longer, and then someone's like, "Oh, do you guys need to get ready in the bathroom?" They're like, yeah, we'll get ready in the bathroom. You guys have fun. We'll get ready in the bathroom.
Oh, that's so
Everyone
good.
else leaves the room and goes into the bathroom. It's me and this girl on the bed.
Yeah.
She starts kissing me.
Yeah.
I start kissing her back.
Yeah, of course.
And then in my head, I'm like, well, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, but we're just like on the bed. This is so awkward. I'm sorry.
I just told my whole virginity story and think
okay.
you can tell
It's
this.
True. So we're just on the bed, like kissing. It's chill, and she's like, "So, are you gonna make a move?" And I'm like, just laughing after that awkwardly, and she's like, "I'm gonna wait for you to make a move."
And you're like,
And
well,
I'm
that's never gonna happen.
I'm like, nah. And then it just kind of goes on for a few more minutes, and she's just like being very provocative. Kind of, we're still like lying there, like
you like them making
intimately.
out. You like them making out. Like
And-
we're at that point there. Don't like you're at that point where you're making out. She's like trying to make it happen more.
Exactly, and I'm like, how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
Especially because like now I wouldn't necessarily get into that situation because I'd be like more upfront and
avoid
I'm
it.
just like more straightforward. But at that time,
But you were
I'm
16.
like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I got carried away, and then I'm suddenly here, and I'm like, what do I do? And she like literally just kept saying this, and I'm not like really saying anything, and she's just like, no, I'm not gonna.
But we
do anything
continue
until
to
you
kissing her.
Yeah.
So she can't even pick up on these signs because you're like not doing anything.
And then a couple of times, I pulled away a bit, and I was just
Yeah.
like sitting there, but then she'd just like come
Kills
back
that.
and be like,
Oh.
so like what are you thinking, like what's gonna happen?
Oh.
Like, and this just continued on awkwardly, and in my head I'm just thinking like this is the awkwardest moment of my life. And then after a while they just kind of come out, and this girl's just kind of moody and pissed off at me, and everyone's like, so how are you guys?
I would be pissed off too, actually, though. Like, no, just the fact that there's no communication. Well, no. Actually, I don't know. I think I'd be pissed off if you, like, stopped kissing me and, like, then they moved away and, like, made it obvious and I kept going. Then obviously it's not their fault, but they're not reading. But you kept it going.
I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking.
But I guess he was
in this
16.
position.
No, it's fine. We all have those. Do we? Yes, sometimes.
And that's the closest thing I've got to a virginity story.
So Theo's virginity story. We were on a bed. We made out. No, but what is your view on, like, obviously you're waiting till sex to marriage. Are you doing other stuff before marriage? Like sexual stuff before marriage?
Okay, so no. This was like a point of contention when I was like seeing someone, and this was like a big point of contention because I didn't know, like I was frazzled in my mind. I'm like, and also I've never had like sex education from like the church or anything. True,
that's a bit odd that they don't do
that. So I'm like, I'm expected to do this, but nobody has ever like ever talked to me. You should make that a thing. So when I was like in this situation, I was kind of thinking, do I want to? Like, how do I know? Like, what's the borderline? Obviously, like I physically want to, but I'm like, I generally don't know what the border thing is.
Yeah, is like sex just going in? Like, is that sex? Or is like, there's obviously oral sex.
And I'm like trying to Google it, like, what is sex? And everyone's like, well, it just kind of
whatever.
And everyone's saying different stuff. And some you find one site and it'd be like, it's not that bad if you like do other stuff when you're a Christian. And I'm like, what do I actually do? What am I going to regret? But ultimately, I was like, I just can only really see myself doing this and then immediately after feeling regretful about it.
Yeah. Well, not bad, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. No, it's hard. Yeah. It must be so hard to like know, because I know I talked to my other friend who's Christian waiting to marriage, and they like have this whole like, if they get engaged, they have like huge sex talks, but also live talks with like somebody that helps them, which will help them talk about all the different things with sex. So like sexual communication, and then they'll also like, sex drive, and they'll talk all about that and kinks and everything with them, with the partners, and then with them, and then obviously talk about money and management and all that type of stuff. And they actually have these big talks, which I think is really helpful, because I just thought they kind of like, you're young, you get married at what? 20, 22, 23.
I used to say that I'd like, I'll get married at 20, and I'm here, I'm like,
I think, I know that like a lot of Christian young people get married really early compared to other people, and like a lot of me was like, is it just because of the sex? Like, because they just want to be able to have sex. And like, I think that is a factor, but like also now knowing that they have that kind of education and big like week like talks with somebody, I'm like, okay, like I guess. Like,
yeah. And then they often, to be honest, lots of the time they have a lot of success, like in their marriages. So yeah,
can't go back and erase my past, but maybe I would have.
Okay. And I promised my last question before we're gonna get to some viewer things. No, it's not serious. I'm just interested because we've kind of talked about like where you're at now.
Yeah.
With sex and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I'm interested like your relationship now with sex. I'm like, do you like, what is your main reason for having sex when you do now?
Now, after, not recently, probably like a month ago, after finding somebody I actually really, really liked. Not anymore. He's not in the picture. But like I found somebody that No.
Band boy?
No. But I found somebody that I was very attracted to, and like we had a very like big connection. And I actually enjoyed sex more than I ever did before with him. And then contrasting that with the last time I had sex with a person that I thought I liked, but then it was a bit awkward. It wasn't as comfortable. It's just made me really question that, like, no, I value like having that connection and like kind of friendship and being comfortable, because I was so comfortable with the other guy and it made things so much better. So I really think like now, like going into sex, I want to be comfortable. I want to like the person. I want to not feel forced. Like, I want to actually, like, I don't want to be jumping at the opportunity. Of course, I don't want to jump somebody to have sex with them. But, like, I want to be, eager and, like, I think I want to be, like, I think I like it when my emotions are in there. Or, like, at least I feel a bit of connection rather than just, like, oh, we met, I'm going to have sex with you. So I think that's where I'm at.
So, no more one night stands?
Like, I think, like, you can meet people on one night and, like, feel connected to them. I don't think that's not a thing. Like, I do think that happens where it's like, oh shit, I really like you, I want to have sex with you, but I don't really want anything else. And I think that's perfectly healthy, and if that happens for me. But like from my past experience with that, I've gone into it not in a healthy mindset, so I don't think it's worked out for me. But if I was in a healthier mindset like I am now, it's a possibility. But I think I'm actively looking for more of a connection, like as in like you meet once or twice and then you're like, oh, I really like this person. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I think kind of the ultimate message is basically like
make a conscious decision, I think.
Make a conscious decision, but like your relationship with sex should be what
you want it to be. I think
exactly.
It doesn't, I don't think one thing fits for anything, for everybody. And I also think that like sex is it's such a personal thing, obviously, that like just because somebody does it one way doesn't mean that's going to work for you. And also like your relationship with sex is going to change, and it does consistently. And that changes on like how you view yourself, what relationships you have with people, what your expectations are. Just everything. I think it changes.
Yeah, like explore what your value, what's kind of value and you want out of sex kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what type of relationship with sex you value.
Yeah. And just like maybe just ask yourself before every time, but do you want to have sex? Or like, I don't know. There's just like some questions that I ask myself, like, is it just like
have sex?
Well,
which sounds so basic, but then it's like I feel like lots
yeah.
of time you'd probably be like, do I want to have sex?
Yeah,
or am I doing this for a multitude of other reasons?
Is it because I feel pressure, like a bit of pressure, not that they're pressuring me because of the situation? Is it because like I've asked them here, they've done this, so I have to have sex with them? Like, you know, there's all these type of things that it's like, do you actually want to have sex?
And also, if you do find yourself in a situation where you're like, I didn't want to have sex just then, but I did, knowing that none of these, like what you might think of as mistakes, are important into the future or carry in. Even for me, I'm like, if something happened, I had sex, I know that wouldn't really change much. Like,
I think, on that, like, I have had situations where I'm like, oh, I didn't want to do that. And of course, like in the moment and a couple of weeks after, maybe I'm a bit hurt or like a bit like, why did I do that? But it's also like that happened and it may like stay with me a bit longer, but like I did nothing wrong. Like sex,
exactly.
There is nothing like inherently wrong with sex. There's nothing inherently evil with sex. Like it's a natural thing, and like you shouldn't be embarrassed by it or like feel bad about doing it or wanting to have sex. And I feel like it's such a taboo thing, and like especially for girls, it's a big thing. Like you can't vocally say I want sex, or like like even
sure.
like saying like you're horny when you're a girl or something like that. It's kind of like, what? Like, but you boys talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So I feel like we just need to talk about it more and don't feel ashamed. Yeah. Which I'm still working through, honestly. Like some of these questions, I'm like, oh, the shame,
Really?
the embarrassment. Yeah, like we haven't covered one yet, but like even like sex toys and stuff like that, I'm like, I kind of only started talking about it with my friends last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such like a something you don't talk about. Like I know a lot of friendship groups do, but like until like last year or the year before, wasn't open about it. Yeah, like I feel like guys masturbation, there's a lot of talk from like a younger age, whilst girls you don't discuss about.
True.
That's like only the tip of the iceberg. I feel like there's so much more I could go into with that topic, and we've run out of time. There's so much more I want to talk about, but I think we're gonna have to do another episode. Thoughts?
I know we were supposed to. We have like a bunch of questions, anonymous viewer submissions here, secrets that you guys sent in, which we were supposed to get to, but literally we just checked the time, and we're 1 hour in. So yeah, we might. Let us know if you guys want to see like a full bonus episode or a part 2 of this.
It's just like, as I said, we went through so many avenues and like alleyways that like we didn't get to even dive into that much, because obviously sex hits so many points, like emotionally, mentally, physically, that we did not even get to. But no, I really enjoyed talking about this, even though it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, this was fun.
So I hope you guys want another episode so I can talk about it again. But of course, another episode comes to a close and we have our rituals.
A little promo.
If you enjoyed this episode, please do go leave a rating or review. It helps us out so much, and we love to hear, and you may be on the next episode. Who knows? So you can do that on Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
You can go follow us on our Instagrams, Ali_Malcolm, Theo.McCoy. Give us a little stalk. Then we've got Undecided Gen Z.
Thank you so much for listening once again. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next Monday with a new episode.
Of course. And I'm so excited for this next episode. So guys, I literally have not stopped talking about it, but like, get excited.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.